everybody, my name's Kelly Phones, and I'm an educator here at Montavilla Sewing Centers in the Portland, Oregon area. Today we will be working with the Janome M7, and I'm going to show you how to do a buttonhole on this machine. It's not tremendously difficult, but there are a couple things that it's good to understand about it. I don't do a lot of buttonholes, so bear with me if I fumble around a little bit. Even I can make a good buttonhole on this machine. So what I like to do, there are two ways you can find your buttonholes. You can come in here, tap the buttonhole icon, and it's going to show you all of the various buttonholes as well as eyelets that you have built into this machine. This one I like to use on pajamas to put a drawstring through because I just think it's really pretty. If I'm going to sew on a button, I would use that one. My preference is to come into my t-shirts, and I'm going to go to page 2, so I'm in my technique section, and I'm going to choose a buttonhole. So what this does is give me an assist as to which of these buttonholes are going to work on which fabrics. So I have, let's see, let's do an antique style of buttonhole. I changed my mind. I'm going to choose one that you can see a little better. So if you look up here, this is the buttonhole that you're going to stitch out. And you have different options here. This one, you can adjust the slit width right here. So what that does is it allows you to make that opening just a little wider. So if you have a thicker button or a little thicker fabric, it will accommodate that. This one is the overall width of your buttonhole. So if I increase that, it's going to be significantly wider. Let's get it back. And this is the density of your buttonhole. Always, always, always test out a sample. So if your buttonhole comes out a little too dense, you can increase that stitch length so your stitches aren't so close together. So when you have everything, and you can also come in here and adjust your tension, so you can lighten your tension a little bit. These are all the same buttons plus the amount of pressure and tension. Oops. So we're going to go back to this one. Now if I want to, I can scan my QR code here. It's going to give me more information about this. You can also find additional information in your instruction manual as well as on the instructional DVD for the machine. So we're going to go ahead and stitch out a buttonhole so I can show you how to do that. First thing you need to do, you have a little lever right here, right behind your needle threader up here. So you need to pull down that lever. So that lever is what the machine is referring to on the screen. Pull down the buttonhole lever. If you don't, your buttonhole will keep stitching forever. We're going to pop off that presser foot. And this is your buttonhole foot. These marks right here show you where your needle's going to drop. So this is going to be the center, and this is the bottom. So you want to line up these two lines with where your needle's going to drop. Your buttonhole is going to form from here to the back. So this is going to be the front or the bottom of your buttonhole. To insert your button, this mechanism slides. So if it's all the way down, you simply slide it up and pop your button in and tuck it back down. And you go ahead and put your button on. attach it just like you would any other foot. This bottom plate is a stabilizer bar. I like to use it as much as possible, simply because it keeps all of my fabric nice and taut. And my buttonholes come out a lot better. You can't always use it very effectively though, because it might get in your way. You do have some limitations. You want to mark where your buttonhole is going to be and drop your foot. Now remember, you're always going to test out your buttonhole, so it doesn't really matter for this purpose what I'm doing with the tail. When you're making one on your real garment or your project, you want to make sure that this tail is through this hole and underneath that foot. Easiest way to do that is raise your foot, drop your needle, bring it back up, take some tweezers or a stylus, and you're just going to pull that thread out to the side and drop your foot. Now I'm going to unplug my foot control. This is one instance where I prefer to use my start-stop button right here. What that's going to do is it's going to start my buttonhole and it's going to keep stitching until it's done. So we're just going to start that up. Oops, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to pull that lever down after I showed it to you guys. What this lever does is it will stitch back to the back of your buttonhole foot back here, and this lever is going to make it stop. So this lever recognizes how long your buttonhole needs to be. Without that lever down, it just keeps stitching. So luckily I caught that in time. I would like to be able to say I never forget to do that, where in actuality I probably forget to pull that lever down most of the time. I do eventually remember. So now it's going to come back up the other side. The reason I like using this button is it's just going to go ahead and stitch it all out on its own. Buttonholes tend to come out better if you just let them go once you start them. And the machine will know when it's done. And if your scissors are turned on, it will cut your thread and raise your foot for you. And here you have a perfectly formed buttonhole. Now at this point you can open the slit with your seam ripper or a small pair of scissors, and you can test it to make sure that it fits your button perfectly. Remember to make them a little snug, because they do loosen up the more they get used. So you want them a little bit tight when you first make them. So that is how you make a buttonhole on the Janome M7. Give it a try. I can be found at our Beaverton location. If you have any difficulties, give us a call over there or at any of our stores, and we'll be happy to help you out. Thanks for watching.